also want to talk about some noises that I have heard in the past, and you probably have heard in the past as well, especially when it gets really, really cold like this, and how the cold can impact different parts of the world around you, and some interesting noises that I've been looking at on social media a little bit here lately. The exploding trees, we'll talk about that. We get frost quakes around here sometimes, and then your house can be popping and seemingly like it's going to be exploding, or gunshots, that kind of a sound. So we'll talk about all that in just a little bit. I wanted to show you first of all, real quick, wouldn't be right to not show you what's going on temperature-wise. 4 below in Flint, 21 below is the wind chill. 1 in Detroit, 15 below is the wind chill. 0 in Monroe, and 13 below is the wind chill. So it's a very, very cold night. There is less wind than there has been so far through most of the day today, and there'll be even less wind overnight. Excuse me. So that's great for the wind chill factor, but the less wind and the clear skies we have is going to allow the cold to the temperature, the heat, if you will, whatever's left out there, to escape and get us even colder for the temperature. So it's kind of 6 half dozen the other. So the cold weather advisory does continue for all of us until 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Wind chills typically 10 to 20 below, and I just showed you that's where we are right now. And then the end of the weekend, Sunday through Sunday night, we're going to get some snow. This is the big storm. This is the snowmageddon that everybody's talking about. It started now in Texas, Kansas, New Mexico, and it's going to move across the state. It'll get far enough north to impact us on Sunday one way or another, and it looks like these are some totals that you need to know about. It'll be heaviest snow downriver in Monroe County one way or another. It'll be the lightest snow up around and north of I-69 one way or another. These are the numbers that I've come up looking at information, updating the last couple of days as we get closer. This is again Sunday night snow. For us, again, this is a snow. It's not the end-all be-all, but obviously if you get 5 inches in Monroe, or maybe a little bit more toward Toledo, in Monroe County, that's a big deal. 3 to 5 across Detroit, Ann Arbor, Adrian, up toward Port Huron, and then decreasing amounts as you go farther north, just because we're on the northern edge of the storm system, and so the farther you are away from the center, the less snow you get. There's less moisture, there's less energy, there's less lift, all that kind of stuff. So I just wanted you to know it stays really cold. We'll get into some of this snow Sunday through Sunday night, so the totals I'm showing you here look like Monday morning numbers. But little box I put on here, you got to keep watching, because a little movement north or south of the center of this thing could make a decent impact on our snow totals. One way or another, heavier south, especially Monroe County, lighter north, especially around I-69 and to the north. So that's what's coming for the weekend as we keep the cold around. Look at some of these numbers overnight. These are temperatures, not wind chills. Tomorrow morning, we've talked a lot about 7 below. I dropped it to 8 below. I mean, we're splitting hairs here, but that's again because cold as we have been in 7 years in the city of Detroit since back in 2019. I think it was January 21st was the date that we were 13 below or 14 below last time. 12 below in Howe and Pontiac, 11 below in Ann Arbor. Wind chill still will be down to about 20 below, especially early in the night, and then the winds will get lighter. By tomorrow morning, they'll be around 5 miles an hour, probably from the northwest, but then starting to turn to the east tomorrow, but also staying fairly light. When the temperature is that cold, any little bit of wind can all of a sudden make a huge impact on the wind chill, but there shouldn't be too much wind overall. So just wanted to give you a little idea of what's happening over the weekend since it's a Friday evening. Here's the 7-day. I'm going to leave that up, and I want to talk about these 3 issues again: exploding trees, frost quakes, in your house seemingly trying to blow up. So this is how it works. Let's talk about the house first. The wood that is in your house is still, even though it's been harvested, cut, and used in your house, it's still basically a living, breathing kind of an organism. Not technically, but more or less. The wood carries air in it. The wood carries moisture in it. And so when the moisture in the wood, especially if it's in your attic or maybe in your roof, that kind of a thing, it'll get so cold that moisture will expand and it will pop or bang really loudly. And I've heard this a lot at my house, in the roof line and in the front kind of overhang of the porch area, because those areas are more exposed to the cold, right? Not as much insulation in those spots. So the moisture in the wood will expand and actually crack and make the wood crack and split sometimes. I don't think it does a whole lot of strategical structural damage to the wood, but it is loud. I mean, it's really loud sometimes, so maybe you've heard that. I will tell you that the newer your house is, the more likely that is to happen, because the wood is younger and hasn't had a chance to age or dry out as much as wood that might be 50, 60, 100 years old. We got some old houses around here, right? So the newer your house is, the more likely you are to hear this. And again, it could be a pretty good bang or pop as we go through some of these real cold periods. I've heard it 2 or 3 times already this winter, and it happens the most when you go from some warmer temperatures to colder temperatures. We've been cold for a while, but now we're going to get really cold. Remember, wind chill is important to us as humans because we produce our own heat. The actual temperature is more important to your house and making this impact with the loud noises, the banging of the wood, if you will, with the loud popping sound, because it is impacted more by the temperature. So that's one thing. The other thing that we get around here are called frost quakes. It's like a little mini earthquake. The earth actually shakes. There's a big sound. It can be loud like a crack. Oftentimes more it is like a muffled rumble. And we get moisture that goes deeper than normal into the ground. And then when the moisture in the ground and the frost depth goes lower and deeper, you can get areas that don't normally freeze, that might have more moisture hanging around. They freeze, they expand as well. And then that can make this rumble, and you can actually feel some motion. About 5 or 6 years ago, I remember they were really quite strong. It might have been 2019, we were so cold, and people were called the newsroom like crazy. We got earthquakes, we got earthquakes. Well, they're frost quakes, especially if you have a situation where there's been some melting and moisture gets down into the cracks and gets a little lower than normal. Then we get really cold, the depth of freezing gets lower, and that can make some of the frost quakes. So you might get some of that. There have been some water main breaks. The water's got to go somewhere. Some of that seeps down back in and then refreezes. You might get some of that as well. All right, so that's number 2. Number 3 is what I've seen on social media the most lately, which is interesting, and there's some truth to it. It's basically saying the trees are going to explode when it gets really, really cold. This kind of came out of the northern plains, Minnesota, because they were down to 45 or 50 below last night, but that was the wind chill. On a tree, the wind chill's not important, but the temperature is. And so there are a couple of details for this to happen. They don't really explode like a bomb, like some of the pictures I've seen in the social media, but they crack and they split. And a tree, I don't know if you know this, but a tree grows through its bark. All the nutrients, all the water that helps a tree grow transports through capillary motion from the ground, roots the ground into the trunk, and then comes up the trunk in the bark. That's why the bark is so important. You can't get rid of the bark or your tree dies. So what will happen is the moisture and the sap that's running through the bark can freeze quickly and again expand and make the same kind of cracking sound as the wood in your house. But it can physically do structural damage to the tree. It can split the bark off, it can crack the bark, that kind of thing. It's not going to blow up the tree or explode the tree, but that can happen. One of the caveats here, you really need to have, again, things change quickly in the temperature in the bark. So I'm telling you this in more detail than I need to, because today is a good day for this to possibly have happened tonight around here. If you get some sunshine and the sun is beating on that tree and it's warming the bark, you know, the bark's not always that thick, it's warming the bark, it's maybe melting some of that sap that might have been frozen before or making it a bit more liquid, and then you get a cold night, sunshine today, 8 to 12 below tomorrow morning, and there's rapid freezing. That's the most likely time to get something where your tree explodes, or really, in reality, the bark may split or crack and make that kind of bang sound like the wood in your house. So it's an interesting scenario. We will have a possibility tonight because we have the sunshine trying to warm the bark, maybe again loosen up some of that sap or water that's in the bark, and then have it get colder than we've had in a long time around here, so maybe that's a possibility tonight. So your house making a lot of bang noises, a lot of loud noises, scaring you, waking you up. Yep, absolutely happens a lot because of the wood cracking, splitting. The frost quakes don't happen that much. You need to have some extra kind of fresh moisture down and get the frost line really deep in there, the freeze line down low. But that could happen around here because of the cold temperatures tonight. And then the trees exploding, they're not going to. But maybe they split. They certainly could make some loud sounds that might frighten you, especially if you're outside. All right, just wanted to talk about those things as a whole because the tree exploding thing has really been kind of popular floating around on social media. So it's kind of sort of right, not quite. But I just thought some of these other things that do happen around here would be kind of fun to explain as well. We are going to stay very cold into the weekend, get that snow on Sunday. I'm going to be back on the air in about 10 minutes in the studio, so I'm going to let you go. But we're talking about some fun stuff. Obviously, the cold is not fun. Keep in mind the pets, friends, family, neighbors that might need a little extra help as we go through the weekend here.